Welcome to the Wellness Revolution Podcast, the radio show all about wellness in your mind, body, spirit, personal growth, sex, and relationships. Stay tuned for weekly interviews featuring guests that have achieved physical, mental, and spiritual health in their lives. If you'd like to have access to our entire back catalog, visit drveronica.com for instant access. And here is your host, Dr. Veronica.
I'm Dr. Veronica, and I'm also with my co-host, Russell. And I'm a medical doctor, medical intuitive, and Russell is an all-around great guy, Mr. Big Tall Media. If you see him, he's big tall. He's also a medium, doesn't necessarily practice anymore. We're going to get more to that story on another time. But let's talk more about how to help you be better. And this is what Wellness for the Real World is all about. And so we can talk about your numbers, and everybody talks about your numbers and gets you focused and fearful. And we can talk about healthcare and what's going to be taken and what's going to be given and how is it good or not good. But just by the way, just some statistics, you know that we spend the most money in America on healthcare, yet we rank number 37. So start thinking about what is going wrong. You have to do things differently. If you want to be well, you have to do things differently. So one of those ways to do things differently is to change your perception and your emotions. And people say, well, how do I do that? And why are you telling me to do that? Because stress is killing us. Anger, sadness, fear is killing America. It's pure and simple. You are killing you. It's not about the candidate that's out there. It's not about your husband or your wife that's getting on your nerves. It's not about your jerky boss. It's not about that person that cut you off on the road. It's about you and your perceptions that allow you to kill you. So here I am. It's tough love. That's what I do. Tough love. Get it together. So you're saying, all right, Veronica, you're doing those tough love things, but how do I get it together? And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Now, Russell, I'm going to tell you something else. Russell has done just like practically everything in his life. I mean, he sings and dances and he has a beautiful voice with that, but he's also been done a lot of meditation and been a meditation teacher. Right, Russell? Is that true?
I'm guilty.
Yeah, he's guilty. He's done just about everything. So he's been a meditation teacher. But when we talk about changing our emotions and changing the way we react, it's people say, well, that's easier said than done. How do I change the way I react? Somebody did this, that, or the other thing to me. So shouldn't I be mad? I'm allowed to be mad. Damn it, I'm going to be mad. But this hurts only you. It doesn't hurt the other person necessarily. Even if you decide I'm going to go hurt the other person, ultimately you're going to hurt yourself. Even if you send negative energy towards that person, you are hurting yourself. So when you're writing that nasty Facebook post or disagreeing with somebody or you're yelling at whoever the candidate you can't stand on the TV is, I don't know what candidate you can't stand. Trump, Rubio. I want to get Russell's blood pressure up. Who's that other guy? Cruz. Or you might love them, Hillary or Bernie Sanders or whatever. I mean, they're all the same. You know, they're all the same people to me. They're all just the same. And so you have to learn how to change your perception. So how do you do that? Let me just tell you one of the strategies that I use. Is whenever I feel like myself getting irritated with someone, I switch it over and I decide I'm going to send them love. Send them love. Send them love. It's really interesting when you really switch. And why do I do that? I do that because long ago, I tick Russell off. I do it to tick off Russell. Russell, the next time you feel irritated at that candidate, I want you to send them love. Because if you're up here, you're going to be all high and mighty and meditate and all that. And I see all these high, mighty, meditating people who are nasty towards people they don't like politically. Nasty. And I'm just like, that is so incongruent. I just lost all respect for you. Now, I didn't totally lose all respect for you because you're a human being and I understand you're doing it. But if you're going to teach me how to be a better me, you have to show me something that's better about you so that I want to be like you. And when you go up there and say, well, I'm high and mighty and I meditate and blah, 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 but I can't stand, and you mention whatever candidate you can't stand because they did, and you justify it. No, they're all a human being and they all deserve love. And so therefore, the next time you feel that way, Russell, towards I don't know who you dislike the most at this time, and I don't want to necessarily piss everybody off on, and people will be yelling at Russell because he likes Hillary or whatever. I mean, Russell, send love to Ted Cruz. For me, from week to week, one irritates me, then the next one irritates me, then the next one, and so I practice sending love. But Russell, I want you to set up our guest that's coming on, because we're going to talk about these emotional triggers and some of the things you can do about emotional triggers. And this all has to do with outsmarting your brain. And this lady is an expert in outsmarting your brain because you think it's that way and I have no choice but to be that way. And this is who I am. And if I'm not like this, I'm not authentic. And so, Russell, bring on our next guest.
I would be happy to. In fact, I'm sending love to her right minute. Our guest today is Dr. Marcia Reynolds, and she is considered an expert on the brain, helping people understand why they do what they do so they can make better choices and handle difficult situations, etc. She's been on ABC World News, CNN.com. She blogs for Psychology Today and has written a couple of cool-sounding books, Outsmart Your Brain, Mind-Blowing Programs for Leaders. And I love this one, Wonder Woman, How High-Achieving Women Find Contentment and Direction. Dr. Marcia Reynolds, it's great to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here. And I feel the love you sent.
Thank you. I don't know why Veronica can't feel it.
I feel your love, Russell, but we're in a good relationship, whatever kind of relationship you would have called this. But when Russell gets hot and starts posting on Facebook, it's just like, oh my God, he's at it again. I got to calm him down. He doesn't understand. If he's supposed to be a meditation teacher, so tell us, you're talking about outsmarting the brain and your emotional triggers. We can all see other people's emotional triggers very easily, but we have difficulty seeing our own emotional triggers. Why is this?
Well, Dr. Veronica, you said it yourself. We immediately go to, I deserve to be angry. It's okay for me to not say something here. People will, just think it's a dumb idea. So we actually experience things first by emotion, but then we quickly rationalize everything we do with logic. So we come up with some good reason for feeling the way we do instead of stopping and say, why am I feeling this way? And is there really a more productive way to feel?
So people feel it's productive to be angry. To me, in America today, everybody has an itis in their body, some type of illness. Right. And those itises, people don't realize that are directly, seriously associated with anger. And so why is it that we are so indignant and feel like we have a right to be indignant and we cannot seem to switch out of this?
Well, that's an interesting thing, cannot seem to. So again, there's that rationalization. It's okay for me to feel this way, and I can't feel differently anyway. That person made me angry, or this situation is terrible, so I have a right to be angry, and I can't change myself. And you even mentioned earlier when you said this question about authenticity, well, that's just who I am. I often hear that from my clients, without recognizing that you actually have choice. And the question is, do you really want to be living in anger, or is there an easier way?
So what are some of the strategies that you can give us to start doing it a little bit differently? Because I know a lot of people, especially when they have health issues, realize that something's got to change. Something's got to change.
Right.
But I just don't know how to do it, and I've tried all kinds of things. I tried, deep breathing. Everybody says be mindful. I mean, everybody's throwing around these terms, but people say, well, what do you do to tell people to start being able to be just a little bit different? One baby step.
Well, first to recognize that thoughts and emotion are different. And most of the techniques that people learn are thought-related. So even the thought, I send them love, it's difficult to sustain unless you actually feel the love. So we have to start by shifting our emotion before we can actually shift our thoughts and sustain something new. But those emotions are in your body. So anger, fear, frustration, disappointment, they're all lodged in your body. So baby step is to first not just take a breath, but to recognize where you're holding tension and release the tension. Drop your shoulders. Make, your center softer. Let go of your clenching fists. Release the tension in your jaw and your forehead. So when you start to release that, then you can start asking yourself, what would be more useful for me to feel? And can I feel gratitude? Can I feel compassion? Do I have a picture of my child or my puppy dog that makes me feel differently in this moment? You have to start there before you can start changing your thoughts.
So you talk about at times how you turn negative conversations into positive conversations. So you're going down that road. It's that negative road, or you see, for me, it's more commonly, people say, so I had somebody observe me do this one time where I turned a negative conversation. Somebody was attacking me about something I had no control over, and they were attacking. And they said, oh my gosh, it was a new client. Oh my gosh, I saw that. And you stay so calm. How did you do it? And I wanted to beat up the woman for you. How do you get to, how do people get to that point where they can turn around a situation that starts out negative and de-escalate it? What do you tell people?
Well, there's actually three things quickly that you can do with your mental state. And the first one is, before you even go into the conversation, choose one emotion that you want to anchor in your brain. So if it's going to be calm, you could choose calm or courageous or compassion. And then every time you start to feel in your body that you're tightening up or your breathing, quickens and your heart rate, you take that breath, you release it, and then say that one word to yourself, calm, I'm going to be calm. So it becomes that keyword, and you don't allow other thoughts to come in. The moment you start judging them or being angry and coming up with, all the things you think about them, then you could get lost. But if you just have that one anchor word, you start with the emotion, and then remember, why are you there in that conversation? What's the intention? Are you there to help them? If you're there just for yourself, they're going to know it. But if you're really there to help them work through something, you just keep remembering, my intention is for this person who is stuck. So can I stay calm and be here for this person who is stuck to help them move through it?
I want to switch topics a little bit on this, because you have something else that's interesting. Here we are. We've gotten a little bit down the road in the year, and you talk how to assess and plan your year. Now, by this time, New Year's resolutions are long gone, and they've become a distant memory, and you say, okay, well, maybe next year again. But we're still early enough that we can turn around and shift things. So what do you recommend in that? Because this is something that people get angry and disappointed and upset because they're not achieving in their life what they want to do. That's why people, think about it. The people who are the happiest are the ones that are doing the best in life. And that's and doesn't necessarily even have to do with financial status or anything. You're happy with the way your life is progressing. But a lot of people are unhappy, have made resolutions to change, and yet they're gone. So what do we do at this point in time?
Well, first I would start by looking at the resolution list, which is often way too long. It's all the things I want to change in my life, when honestly we really need to focus on one thing at a time, because otherwise you will fail and then you're going to give up completely, instead of just choosing what would be the most important thing for me to focus on that will help me move forward. And choose that one thing. And resolution shouldn't just be in January. I mean, who made up January? So you choose one thing, you work on that, and as you start to see progress, then maybe you can take on something else. But the other thing is to actually look at the list and to say, which of these things really have meaning for me still? Because a lot of times we carry over the same ones year after year after year. And some of those things you need to let go of. You're not going to learn Spanish if you've had it on there for 10 years and you haven't done it, or reach out to some old friend you haven't talked to for 10 years when maybe you have some current friends now you need to spend more time with. So really looking at what can I take off the list, as well as choosing what's the priority for me to focus on.
Ah, yeah. Now you talk about seeing the present clearly, and maybe you should take it off the list. And so in my health coaching and intuitive practice, I see a lot of people who year after year, they've made the resolution that, they want to get healthy, but they say it in terms of, I want to lose weight. That's not a resolution or a desire that I would tell people to take off the list. Why? Because it directly impacts their health and their happiness, because if you're feeling sick and low self-confidence, it's going to be difficult for you to achieve anything else. So if you have one of these resolutions that, yes, this is a good idea, but for 10 years, I haven't been able to achieve this, or 5 years, or whatever it is. Every year I do this. What would you tell somebody to get unstuck out of that type of thing and move forward on those really important resolutions?
Well, losing weight is an interesting one that you would bring that up. I mean, is it really that the goal is to lose weight, or is it the goal to eat more healthfully, or to exercise more? I think that those are more achievable than, because when we say, I need to lose weight, then you lose 2 pounds and you gain 1 back, and then you're angry at yourself and you say this isn't worth it and it's taking too long. Whereas if you set the goal for your healthy lifestyle, so specifically, I'm really going to change my eating. And, you're going to find that there's probably weight loss as a result of that. Instead of that thing that never is enough, weight loss is never enough, so you never satisfy yourself. But if you're eating healthfully, you're going to feel better. So is the goal to feel better? Then what's one thing you can focus on to feel better that would result in a weight loss anyway?
Yes. And one thing I got to say about this, because this talks about something that you do for people, is one of the goals or one of the resolutions should be, I'm going to get somebody to help me with these goals that I have not been able to achieve. Now, we're in such a self-help, do-it-yourself type culture and society that people don't reach out for help. And then when they do reach out for help, if they reach out to an individual that's not equipped to be able to help them with exactly what their goals are, then they don't succeed. And so I see lots of people who have had these goals and haven't been able to achieve them with their health. And the problem is they've never been to a coach. And so I coach, I'm a health coach. Now I'm a physician underlying it, but main thing that I do with people is I coach them, which takes time. So talk a little bit about how coaching is different from going to your doctor and get a prescription, different from psychotherapy. Why, everybody who's great, all the great masters and all the wonderful, successful people out there have coaches, not just athletes. It's not just, the coaches of your favorite hockey team or basketball team. We're talking about all the top performers in every industry that have coaches. So talk about coaching versus all these and the watching it on YouTube and thinking you can do it syndrome.
Isn't that the truth? So, Dr. Veronica, you said something wise just a few minutes ago when you said we always think we need to do it on our own, and how wrong that is. And it is good to have, your friends and support. You share your goals. You you help each other if they're, in support of you in a positive way. But even that, sometimes our friends fall short of challenging us and, really holding up the mirror so we can look at ourselves. And so, again, we get back into that rationalizing mindset, where when you have a coach is really a thinking partner. And when you go and you talk to your coach and you're stuck in a pattern, the coach is so good at holding up the mirror so you can see yourself and then asking a question that makes you truly stop and question yourself, which we can't do for ourselves. We're so protective. I mean, just the same as you can't tickle yourself. If you try to tickle yourself, you can't do it because your brain says, I know what you're doing. And it's the same thing when you try to figure things out on your own. Your brain says, I know what you're doing, and I'm not going to let you do this. But when you have that coach that asks you that question that makes you stop and go, I never thought of it that way, then boom, you've got a crack in your ego, and you start to see the world and yourself differently, and you may be able to move through that. So I love my coach because she gets me every time. I call her, and boom, she asks one question, and I'm like, that's it. And I can start to move forward, where I get stuck just in my own head. And that's just where we go. The brain just won't even allow you that deep exploration that you think you can do on your own. You can't.
So let me tell you one of the big differences I see in coaching versus all the other stuff that's going out here. Let's say you're going to a doctor's office. People say, what's the difference in going to a regular doctor's office versus going to somebody like you as a coach? Well, number one, it's not going to be a whine fest. You're not going to you're going to lay out some of the things, but then I'm going to put it right back on you. Okay, so it's not going to be. It's different than a psychotherapy or a whine fest. Number two, I'm your accountability partner. Accountability. And so that the next time we meet, you better have executed something. And if you didn't execute something in between that, you better have contacted me to tell me what your obstacle was so I can help you get over it. Because I make it clear to people that I'm here, I'm your partner, I'm seeing what you're not seeing, I'm going to give you some direction, but then there's going to be accountability, and then you're going to answer back to me. And if you don't succeed when something happens, it's not that you're making excuses. You're going to talk about, okay, this has happened and this is what I do. And people know it's a different type of relationship than going and whining to the doctors, because this is what people do today. They go to the doctor, I have all this. This is why you're not getting well. You whine to your doctor, they write a prescription to stop your whining, and then you're on your way, and this is why you're not getting well. Am I right or wrong? Okay, so now.
It's so true. But you know what? And people, I bet they tell you, you're in my head. Whenever I go to do something, I hear Dr. Veronica in my head, and I better do it because she's there. So you stay with them even when you're not present, right?
Yes, but they also know that I'm doing it because I really care about them, and
Absolutely.
so I'm keeping them accountable. And so it ends up that they really can see over a short period of time how they've made progress because I made sure their feet were on the fire. And this is what my coaches do for me. They make sure my feet are to the fire. And so there's something I haven't done today that my coach asked for yesterday. And I can't think about anything else but what my coach asked for. I got to do that because I feel embarrassed if I haven't done that, because I know that she's asking me for this information because it's for my own good and my own success. This is what the difference is.
And because you see them in a bigger way than they can even see themselves. You believe in them, that they can do more and be more, and they sense that. So that's why they don't rebel against you. They're like, yes, you're there in their best interest, even though you're challenging them, to do more, to take those steps that are difficult. They know why.
Yes.
They know why.
And so I would tell people, if you are having any kind of issue in any area of your life, invest in a coach. I'm not talking about a good friend. I don't mean a psychologist. I mean somebody who is on your team, on the payroll like the coach is. Because the other thing, why do I say on the payroll? Because when you pay for something, you also tend to execute it. If you get it for free, you're like, it's not worth anything. But when you pay somebody, you're just like, I ain't wasting this money.
That's true.
and I've been taught by George Ross, who is Donald Trump's attorney for years. You saw him on a Celebrity Appearance. I used to be he was one of my coaches, by the way. I was in a coaching group with him, that the best investment you can make is on yourself. And so invest in yourself. And when you invest in yourself, that doesn't just mean going to college or trade school or things like that. The super successful people in all areas invest in these soft things, these soft skills. The successful people are successful in the soft skills. So I want you to know, out there, audience, Marcia, Dr. Marcia Reynolds, you can go on outsmartyourbrain.com, outsmartyourbrain.com. And I'm going to put in a plug. She helps high-achieving women. And, you know, the high-achieving woman, the Wonder Woman and the Wonder Woman are very different from, all of us are great, not saying that. But when you're high-achieving, there's a lot of times I feel like, okay, there's nobody who understands what I'm going through. And so who do I talk to about this? And so people like, if you're one of those people, who do I talk to about this? Because all people just don't get me. Then you want to go and talk to somebody like Dr. Marcia Reynolds. www.outsmartyourbrain.com. Dr. Marcia Reynolds, thank you for being on Wellness for the Real World.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to the Wellness Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more on how to bring wellness into your life, visit drveronica.com. See you all next week. Take care.